All right. I think this is working. Let me know in the chat if you can hear me. Did absolutely no testing on this, so hopefully it's working right now. All right, what's up, Calcium? What's up, Eric? What's up, Danny? Matt? How you guys doing? All right, cool. So it's good to be back. I went to Italy, turned off the charts for a while. Was happy to see that we didn't crash while I was gone. At least not initially. Yeah, I was flying home yesterday. I had a bunch of my old stale alerts go off, and I saw that we were pumping hard. So we got a Ethereum futures ETF approval over the weekend, which is awesome. Or is it? Actually, I don't think it's awesome at all. It's bad in the short run, I think. Think in the long run, futures ETF good because it sort of puts us on the inevitable path to a spot ETF in a way. In the short run, I don't know. These things are always sell the news events as it turns out, and I think unfortunately today that may have also been the case for us. I heard last time the charts were a little skinnier, so try to widen it out a bit for you guys. Hopefully you can see a little better. Although I got this video window of me kind of blocking them, but whatever, we'll make do. All right. If you guys have anything you want to talk about in the chat, feel free to throw it out. Otherwise, I have some important material here to review. We're going to start in very boring fashion, of course, with the U.S. dollar index. Now, those of you who listen to the pod remember me saying a few weeks ago, or maybe it was a couple months ago now. I don't know. We talked about, as a quick review here, how we had this little wick. We had a swing fail on the monthly into this imbalance right here. Ran all of these lows, closed back inside, and we said once that happened, we're probably going to make a run for this giant imbalance up here. You see, we got this huge imbalance left from this sell-off in November, which is basically when we kind of started going up only again. Now, this gap is too giant to have it be particularly useful, so I like to kind of look at this on the 2-week chart here, and I think you can kind of see things a little more clearly. Yeah, we pointed out a couple highs here that we thought we were definitely running, and yeah, we ran all of that. I mean, this has just been up only, and not surprisingly, the stock market has not been doing so well since then. July 17th or so, that was the local top in the stock market, and it was right around the local bottom, July 17th. It's when the dollar bottom. So a lot of what you're doing right now when you're trading is you're basically just trading the dollar up and down, and a lot of these things are just sort of proxies for the dollar. I think we've talked about how if you pull up a chart of Bitcoin, I personally believe that the halving is a bit of a meme. It just sort of coincidentally lines up with these sort of 4-year cycles we've had with the dollar, and if you plot a chart of the dollar and an inverse of the dollar, you basically get the Bitcoin chart. So as the dollar goes, so goes a lot of all the other stuff we look at, and that's why I kind of like to look at the dollar and start there when looking at my analysis of everything. When I look at this, I mean, we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 consecutive. These are 2-week green candles. I love you too. I love you too, Edmund. Can I call you Edmund? Feels weird. I'm not going to do that. But look at the dollar. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. Was that 13 straight weekly green candles? this is the trade I should have taken, but I didn't because I'm stupid, and also I wanted to go on vacation. But yeah, this is going higher. How high is it going? I think is an interesting question. If I were to be trading this like I trade stocks, I like to use something called range projections. It's a super interesting piece of voodoo. Not sure if I've ever shown this to you guys, but we talked a little bit last week about how I like to think about trading in terms of periods of accumulation, periods of manipulation, and periods of expansion. And when I'm trading, I like to identify where accumulation is happening and then wait for a manipulation leg, in the opposite direction of where the move is going to go, and then to try to hop on the move. And we can see that just so clearly here, right? If you look at this is all accumulation right there, boom. And then this right here is manipulation, and then boom, expansion, right? So if I was trading this properly, right, I would be looking here on the monthly. I would be identifying this imbalance here because price tends to go and fill these imbalances. So we had price kind of lingering above this imbalance. We had a bunch of lows here, right? And then we ultimately get this manipulation leg right here down after this nice little accumulation leg here, right? And now, of course, we are in expansion. And the question you're asking is, how high can this go? So like I was saying, like when I like to trade stonks, index futures, something we use called range projections. This is a little interesting tool. So this right here is the manipulation leg. So if I measure this leg, and then I pop on my little standard deviations here, right? You can actually use these sometimes to predict how far a move might go. So what I'm usually targeting in a move is about 2, right? You typically will sometimes on a bigger move, you'll see us consolidate around 2 to 2.5, retrace maybe 50%, move higher. Typically in indices like or Forex even, if you see a move go to 2.5, it usually means it's going all the way up to 4. And I think this is a little more reliable and the shorter duration stuff, because when we're talking about a chart like this, I mean, we're looking at moves here in the dollar that are, these are like multi-year moves, right? So we're talking about an area like this. It's going to take a lot for us to break this high, because this is like a multi-decade high right here. But anyway, if we go back to this, we can kind of see where it might be taking us if we are looking at maybe like a move to 2, and that's pretty high. So we actually do have a little imbalance up here on the 2-week. So yeah, if I was trading this like I was day trading, I would be guessing that this goes up here. If we go up here, this is pretty gnarly. I mean, this is like $1.11, right? So if the dollar goes to $1.11, we are so wrecked, so wrecked, like unbelievably wrecked. That's a pretty nasty move. But I think even a move to just the one standard deviation, that's going to put us in the middle here. That put us at like over $1.08, nearly $1.09. So I totally believe that we're at least going here to $1.08, $1.09. That's going to be bad for everything else. It is what it is. So the good news is, I think that when we get up here, I think everything's going to break very, very badly. And I think the Fed is going to kind of just throw up their hands and just turn the money printers back on. I mean, they've already demonstrated they don't want stuff to break. We had the crisis with gilts last November. They decided to, right around here, weaken the dollar substantially. Did a little engineering to kind of engineer a bit of a landing there. And then we also remember what happened in the spring with the BTFP program, the buy the fucking paper program. That's not what it's called. With Silicon Valley Bank. So twice in the last year, they've sort of bailed out treasury markets. I think the same thing is going to happen when we get there this time. I don't know if that happens at a $1.09 here, or if we go way up here. This would be pretty severe. If you look at the 10-year, I mean, this looks like the world's best shitcoin right now. I mean, this thing is just also up only. Yeah, I mean, 10-year kind of looks like it's going up here, well over 5.3% for starters. Yeah, it's pretty nasty move. I think that if you take a look at what's going on, it seems like the market is realizing that we can't really absorb all of the debt that we're issuing, and yeah, rates are climbing higher. And ultimately, the Fed is going to be the person who buys all of that debt, and that is going to be very bullish for Bitcoin and hopefully all the other stuff. But let's go back to Bitcoin for a moment. If you were here last week, we talked a little bit about, Danny, what breaks when the dollar goes that high? Everything. The whole world breaks when the dollar goes that high. Basically, last year was a great example of what happens when the dollar goes very high. What died last year? Stocks died last year. Bonds died last year alongside stocks. So that was really fun for everybody because everybody thought that if your stocks did bad, the bonds would pick up the slack. But nope, bonds had their worst year in, I don't know, many decades, I believe. Crypto got annihilated. Gold did badly. I mean, basically everything you bought other than the dollar last year got wrecked. So when dollar goes up, you don't want anything other than dollars, really. And that's just kind of the way it is. If you can time it well, you sit in dollars and then you buy all the risk assets when we bought them. But easier said than done. So last week we were talking about, I introduced you to another little weird concept called quarterly theory. And we talked about how you can divide years or any period of time into quarters, and you could identify periods of accumulation, of manipulation, of distribution, and of continuation. Basically, the sort of framework I use for trading, but you can identify it over longer time horizons, right? And it's very obvious in certain points on the chart, right? So if we go back to the pre-2020 cycle, this was your accumulation quarter, and then here we had the manipulation, right? This nasty COVID wick down, and then we had, of course, the distribution / expansion, the continuation of that, and then we had another obvious one here last year, right? Like if you look at Q3 of last year, clear accumulation, Q4 clear manipulation, and then first quarter this year, of course, we had the expansion up. And then I stated that it was probable that we were in another period of accumulation in quarter 3, right? So you can kind of see this sideways accumulation in price. And this means that we should expect another period of manipulation after this, followed by another period of expansion. And if you're a bull, what I was saying is that I actually thought there was a good chance that Q4 was quite bloody at one point, because I thought there was a distinct possibility that Q4 gave us our manipulation leg down to start, followed by a move kind of back up, right? And this is what you want to see if you want to get into the market. You want to kind of wait for this manipulation to happen. You want to wait for price to kind of resume back to the upside and then hop in for the rest of that leg. Now, if you were paying attention, and I hope all of you were, I also mentioned that when you're looking at this sort of quarterly theory, it's not just the year that you could divide into 4, but you can divide a day into 4 periods, you can divide a week into 4 periods, and you can divide a month into 4 periods. And if you look at months, you can sometimes identify periods in those months of accumulation, manipulation, and expansion. And then we pointed out how we saw that in September, right? We had our little bit of accumulation, we got a manipulation leg, and we got expansion leg up and a retracement. And what I said would probably happen if we were to think that Q4 was ultimately going to take us down, and those of you who've been following me know that I've been looking at this zone here with a great deal of interest. So I guess I could just pull the... I like the 2-week chart for Bitcoin. It's pretty clear, we had our accumulation, manipulation that we've been going up, up, up. We did not put in a higher high here as far as like a close. So as far as I'm concerned, this is sort of still the valid high, which means this area here is still the valid low. And then this area here, when you're trading, what you want to do is you want to identify regions that break structure, right? Because this is sort of where institutional buyers, the types of buyers who are just sort of passively filling limit orders, are sort of filling their bags, right? And the idea is that if you're getting in with these guys, they should be protecting their bags. So this was like our previous high here, right? So when we got this leg up back in March, this nice leg up here, what gave the leg up? Well, it was this entire down move here, right? So this big down move, the last down move before a large move up that broke structure. This, especially towards the bottom end here, is where large players are sort of like filling their bags, right? And on shorter time frames, we typically look for price to sort of retest these areas and then go back up. You saw that kind of in a limited way here. So here was like a small, this is actually the move that broke us into bullish structure, right? This was like a critical high here. So once we broke this high, we're sort of now officially in a weekly or bi-weekly structure. And then you can see we had this little zone here. Price came back down here, tested this zone a little bit, back up, and then ultimately during Silicon Valley, we went back into this zone and then back up again. But what has not happened since then is like this entire zone is sort of remaining unmitigated for the most part. Like this entire zone has not really had price dip into it, right? So the idea to me that we're just going to sort of go sideways here and then just go up to all-time highs or whatever without dipping into this zone, it doesn't make a lot of sense to me, right? So what I've been saying is that we're ultimately going to we're sort of like engineering some liquidity here, these equal lows. Whenever I see these equal lows on like the higher time frames, like my instinct is that price is going to take these, right? You have a lot of stop losses here, so large players could sort of passively fill their bags from the stop losses, and then you get something like this, and then now you're going back up, right? And as a trader, you want to kind of identify this market structure break back to the upside, and then try to get back in here on sort of the retest of that zone. That's kind of your play as an active trader. And you can do this even as a long-term investor. You're just doing this on longer time horizons, right? So you might be looking at this 2-week chart here, right? So this zone on the 2-week, you've got this blue candle here. This is the zone that broke market structure to the upside, right? So as a spot buyer, you can say, okay, well, if price comes back down in here, this is sort of where all the big boys bought, so I should be accumulating some bags down here. Because if I'm right about market structure, this low, should be protected. This whole zone here should be protected. These guys aren't going to want to fill their bags and then have it, just get stopped out. Doesn't make any sense. So this is kind of an area of interest if you're like a longer term guy, I think. And then it's as for like where are we targeting? first stop is these highs here. Second stop is going to be this monthly imbalance here. Third stop potentially. This is sort of the last up move on the monthly before we get this huge down move, right? So this is going to be a very, very difficult area to get through, and this is probably where I would be looking, to be taking the majority of profits on this swing here. It's possible you could just go straight for those highs. In all likelihood, I think it's more likely you get something like that, and you can kind of trade this as like a gigantic range. But back to what I was saying earlier about Q4, right? So if we think Q4 is going to be a sort of a manipulation quarter, which would mean that we're going to get some nasty move down, take out all this liquidity here, we got this low here, we've got all of these imbalances here, they've never been touched, right? Just this is just a prime area, right? So if I think Q4 is going to kind of do this and then go back up, well, that kind of means that in the month of October, and this is what I was saying I was worried about, is that we might have a bit of a fake out move up here, which would be the manipulation move, and then that would get everybody all excited. In reality, we've kind of just got a lot of trouble areas here. We got this order block here, which is the last sort of up candle before we got that nasty sell-off. We talked about how we had a monthly mid-range right about here. This is about where the June mid-range is, another key level. And we also have the high from the grayscale pump, which is a good point of liquidity. So I saw a lot of reasons for price to kind of bounce up in here to start October, only to kind of come back down after everybody gets all excited and wreck us. So when I saw the pump this weekend, I was like, uh-oh, this is kind of the thing that I said might be a thing that happens, right? And if you kind of think about this in a power of three way, you could say, all right, well, some accumulation here, and then if this ends up being a manipulation leg, whoop, back inside here, then you're going to be targeting lower. This is kind of how the buy program works, but in reverse as a sell program. Another interesting thing to look at is I was talking about how I like to use these range projections. They're kind of interesting for predicting where moves go. And so what we can do is kind of look at these larger areas of here's Bitcoin. This is obviously accumulation. This is manipulation, leg down, right? And we have a similar thing here. You can see accumulation. This is a manipulation wick, takes all of these highs, and then what do we get? We got a leg down, right? So an interesting thing to do is to measure these manipulations and kind of see where they take you. And I actually want to do a whole video on this at some point, but this is going to get a little too dense if I do it right now. But in the past, if you look at some of the larger moves of Bitcoin, you'll see that they actually pretty nicely follow a sort of two standard deviation move here. So right there, we can do one, and then we can also come here and do this one here, and then see where that puts there's our down move there. We had another one right here before that leg down. And then depending on how this one shakes out, this could be a bit of a dubious one. I'm actually not going to do that one yet. I'm going to wait to see how that shakes out. But one thing you'll notice here is there's actually pretty good confluence. You've got that magic 2 number and the magic 4 number, and they are overlapping right here in this gigantic, enormous inefficiency. This is right around 21K or so. So you could make the argument that this whole manipulation move is ultimately going to resolve, down here, and that would make that would make a lot of sense to me. Because like I've been saying, like this whole area here probably needs to get retested. We're probably not going to leave these equal lows here and go back up. We're probably not going to leave this low here and go back up. Doesn't make a whole lot of sense. So I know I said I wouldn't do this, but I shorted some Ethereum this morning. I'm sorry, but I have too much exposure, and this just looked so bad to me. I don't know if you guys saw the futures ETF, but it did not go well. Incredibly low volumes. Not great. What's interesting about ETH and kind of scary is that this region here is sort of the equivalent to Bitcoin, depending on how you want to plot this, but basically this is like an entire gigantic leg down, or maybe you just want to say like, nah, I'm just gonna take this leg here. We've already kind of dug into this a little bit with ETH. So once an area has already been mitigated, when price comes back to it, it's much less likely to bounce, right? And much more likely to just go through the whole thing. So if you were to plot this move down for ETH, right, you're going to get something kind of tame, like why can't I use TradingView? There we go. So only like 13% down to that wick. But if you look at what this move looks like in Bitcoin, right, from here, this move is like 23%. So if we get a 23% move in Bitcoin, we're probably getting more than the 23% move in ETH, but a 23% move in ETH, even if it's equivalent, would put us here. This kind of makes sense to me because we've got this sort of unmitigated zone here. This is the down move in December that sort of launched the whole bull run for this year. We've also got equal highs here. This would be really scary. So these are probably within reach if Bitcoin goes to 20K, not to be a huge doomer on you. But yeah, 35% or so. So that's in the cards. So don't use leverage. Don't do anything stupid because it could certainly get ugly. It is my hope that we just have like a little bit of a wick down on Bitcoin. It's entirely possible that we just dip a little bit. Maybe we just little dippy dip, like 12% in Bitcoin, and then ETH kind of comes down here, and we go, oh god, like a really nasty, scary, like 16% or something, and then we go back up. But I don't know. I'm concerned at the moment in the short run. In the long run, I do think we're great. Everything's going to be okay. But yeah, could get nasty depending on what happens with the dollar. Like I said, if the Fed decides to intervene early, we kind of go back up, I think. If they try to be heroes, intervene late, I don't know. Could be pretty nasty. But yeah, this move on ETH is this looks terrible, right? This looks really, really bad. We basically took this high and a move here. Took this high. We broke this low. We broke structure to the downside. This looks really nasty. This looks like a complete manipulation leg at this point. So if you were to fib this out, where would that take you? So 2.5 standard deviation move, that would take you down here, boom, right in this zone here, which makes a lot of sense to me. So I don't know. If I were a betting man, I would say, mid, low 1400s at least is probably where we're heading. But there are no guarantees in life. Let's look at ETH BTC a little bit, because I have been charting this for a while, and I have been pretty optimistic on it, because when I looked at this a while back, I mean, this is kind of the move I'm concerned about here. We had this obvious just impulse move up, last bull run, market deciding that ETH is actually a good thing, deserves to be a lot more valuable versus Bitcoin. We had this move pre-halvening, but then we kind of came all the way back up. Not pre-halvening, pre ETH staking going live. Right, and when this happened here, what I saw is a market structure break to the upside. Got a huge inefficiency here, created from that. So totally normal to me to see price kind of retracing into this efficiency. Like I see nothing weird about this at all. Like people who are being doomers about it, I think, are being a little dramatic at the moment. And then you've got this order block here, which we haven't even tapped into yet. So what I see again is a manipulation, a market structure break back to the upside. This to me looks like it wants to accumulate and then push higher. And if we look at what we've got here, we've got a nice little, I know we like the lines here, but this is like an obvious little falling wedge. Not really something I use, but if you think about how this pattern is likely to resolve, right? What are we going to do? What's more likely? We're just going to nuke completely through this area here? Possible. If we get something really nasty happening, could definitely happen. Or is it more likely that we sort of dip into this area, maybe run a little low, pull back up, and now we've got all of this is all liquidity here. This is all trend line liquidity, right? So when price kind of moves up, you've got all the people who are shorting. You've just had free shorts this whole way down, right? This high never got touched. 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 These equal highs never got touched. This high has never gotten touched, right? So when this moves up, in my opinion, it's going to move up very, very violently, because you're just going to have a move come in and just rip all of this liquidity in short order. And if you look at where, well, I've just totally made this unreadable, but if you look at where on the chart we kind of get to Judgment Day, this is right at the end of the year. This is right, like this is January right here. And those of you who are familiar with ETH might know that ETH is very seasonal. It typically does very badly versus Bitcoin around this time of the year, but then we have ETHuary. So ETH in January, I think, is just insane from a BTC ratio perspective. So that would align nicely here, right? And this all would align pretty nicely with my working assumption. And again, this is just really finger to the wind trying to predict this stuff, but like it does look like we're going to have a nasty manipulation in Q4. That also aligns with the dollar continuing to move up, and then a reversal of the dollar and a reversal of that manipulation would kind of align with an ETH BTC reversal in January, and just a generalized crypto reversal sometime in November, December or so. Calcium, if BTC and ETH drops, which alts are on the watch list to see even bigger drops? The alt that's the most interesting to me, because of the combination of liquidity and the history, the ease of charting it, is Solana. So this is the Solana ETH chart. If you're investing in anything in crypto, by the way, you should be looking at the ETH pair. I think that ETH is free money as far as crypto goes next cycle. It's basically like the benchmark. So if you are charting, shitcoins or altcoins, whatever you want to call them, you really should be making sure that they are beating ETH. And it looks to me as though the sort of worst is over here for Solana ETH. This looks like capitulation to me. I don't see how it gets much worse than this, really. And we're basically just in a sideways range here. So it wouldn't shock me if you retested these lows down here. This would, in my opinion, like if you get Solana ETH back down here towards these lows, you know, the bottom of this range, you know, 0.008 or so, I think you want to be accumulating there. I think in reality, anything you accumulate in this range over the course of multiple years is going to end up looking good. I do think this is going to rip up pretty hard at some point. I think, although, you know, Sol may not end up winning, quote unquote, versus ETH, I think there's an extraordinarily high probability that it has one very, very, very good narrative run in it, at least. When I look at the USD chart, I mean, this thing doesn't have to go anywhere, right, for you to make like a really nice return. Like, I think it's entirely plausible that we just run this high and that's kind of the peak, right? That could definitely happen. But if you're buying here, even here, right, that is, it's a 5x, right? If you look at the same thing on the ETH chart, right, ETH to that point, that's, you're going to double your money. So I really do see a good risk reward just to sort of get back to this kind of a, you know, 2022 Q1 point, which a lot of altcoins will never go above ever again, but I think Solana will. I should also mention, like, I think it's entirely possible that, and this is maybe even my base case, right? I think we do this. When it comes to crypto and basically anything in crypto. I think a lot of people are expecting, you know, we're going to get to the halving around here and then we just go up only. I think that if something doesn't break this fall, right, or even if something does break, there's a good chance another thing breaks next year. There's a lot of stuff in the system that can break, and if we have like another nasty liquidity event that does take us back down to ZERP sort of you know, zero interest rate era, it's not going to be super bullish for Bitcoin in the meantime, right? You're just going to do another one of these kind of nasty COVID sell-offs probably. Now I will say that in the spring we did have that here, right? But the market reacted pretty quickly once it became apparent that BTFP was happening. Like, I think this is sort of like a Bitcoin like liquidity move, right? Like, oh, okay, we see what's going on here. You know, same thing after the gilt crisis. This kind of got hijacked a little bit because of FTX. But basically, once the Fed sort of let the dollar crash again and kind of decided to come in and save the bond markets, boom, right? So I suspect the same thing happens again. And I, like I said, I suspect ultimately the Fed is going to buy all of the bonds at some point, and that is going to take us into 3 digits. But I know you guys like to trade the riskier stuff, and I don't blame you if you're trying to make it. You're not really going to get filthy rich trading Bitcoin. But yeah, I think Solana is a really cool coin that I'm definitely looking at, and I have a small bag of, but not a lot, right? But this could just go on for forever. But like the longer this kind of goes on, the greater the pump that you're going to end up getting in the long run. So yeah, totally on board Solana. Which alts are on the watch list to see even bigger drop? Oh, what else am I looking at? I'm kind of looking at Link again. Every time I do this, I want to end up wanting to off myself, but I don't know. Like, eventually, I think this is going to resolve to the upside. Problem with Link is that Sergey has been just dumping on you for years, right? You're just funding their operation by buying. But like, I do think eventually this is going to resolve to the upside. I tweeted about this a while ago actually, because I was actually looking at a potential power of 3 thing playing out here with Link, because we had this range. I was tweeting about this, I think, earlier this year, right? And I was kind of looking for this play where you accumulate, right? And then you have like a move down to run all of this and then maybe back up. Now, is that what this was? I mean, kind of. We ran these lows. This to me I don't think this is enough of a manipulation to really get you going. Like, you really want this. That's not manipulation. This is manipulation, right? That's a manipulation move right there. Inserts Crocodile Dundee voice. So that's more of the thing I'd like to see on Link. But it's entire. None of this stuff is like a hard science. It's entirely possible that we just kind of just accumulate and then just nuke upwards, right? Totally possible. But what I would really love to see is like just a really nasty kind of sell off here in Q4, and then a reclaim, and then back up, and then you're trying to get back in here on the reclaim in hopes that you're going up. And I do see a pretty juicy zone here that I think there's a good chance we test. We talk about the down moves that give us big moves up. What better example of that was than this here? I mean, this zone gave us just an insane move. I mean, we went up, I'm off the screen. We went up like 20 or 30x off of that move right there. And you can see that price has not come back into here yet. And normally you expect price to at least explore like the 50% level, like the mid-range of the accumulation. That also lines up nicely with, we'll get a little imbalance here within this zone. This would be pretty nasty if that happened. I mean, that'd be 60% or so down. But that, I think, is a great setup. That would be kind of like your Bitcoin 2018. This is capitulation. Then super capitulation and back up. So that's what I'd be looking at. I'm not super interested in aggressively accumulating alts right now, because So my generalized thesis right now is like, I actually have a lot of Bitcoin because I don't think Bitcoin is going to nuke that bad. I mean, I pulled up an ETH chart and showed you how it could nuke 36%, which is pretty brutal. But even 36%, is a lot better than losing 2/3 or 70% of your investment. So I'm personally comfortable just buying ETH here. And I'm not necessarily, I guess I'm saying that, but I did just short it. But I'm not necessarily trying to get a bunch of micro moves, right? Like I do think, grand scheme of things on Bitcoin, like, yeah, we could pull back another 20%, but in reality, like, I'm interested in, capturing 300% on the way up, and like, how much do I want to fuck around and find out trying to capture this move? I don't know. So that's like a choice you guys have to make. Do you want to just wait until a down move here to fill your bags, or are you going to buy some here just in case we don't get that move? Bitcoin does sometimes just leave you behind. I don't know. I don't think that's likely, but could happen here. But I don't want to buy a bunch of alts, because alts are going to get annihilated if we have another liquidity event. One alt I'm pretty interested in, I actually have a small bag of this still, is Render. I kind of think the stupid AI narrative is going to rear its head again, and I think that this thing is probably going to have a good move at some point. I don't have an insanely good read on the chart at the moment. Like, I wouldn't say this looks bullish. I would say it's probably going lower, but I think it gets interesting, like, if you can kind of grab it sub $1 again. Like if you get a revisiting of this sort of like accumulation range down here, we could go down there, and then you can rely on Kyle Soleimani to pump your bags again, maybe next cycle. But I don't think AI is going anywhere. I think it's kind of a fun, random, dumb shit coin to have on your radar for a pump. So definitely watching that. What about ApeCoin, Marty? Oh, we love ApeCoin over here. I haven't looked at the ApeCoin chart in a while. I'm sure it looks just super investable. Oh my God. Oh God. All right. So funny story, guys. I don't know if I've ever told this story. Maybe I did tell it on the pod. We were out with the guys in March, and I think ApeCoin was about here, and we met an ApeCoin bro, a couple of ApeCoin bros out, and he was telling us his retirement plan. Said he was accumulating a bunch of ApeCoin because it was giving you, I don't know, like 100% APY on the staking, and he was going to basically just quit his job and retire off of that because it couldn't go below $3. And I guess that's maybe because he watched my Twitter account and then he drew a line here, and I was like, that's the bottom. Of course, this was a bad sign, and I immediately went home and shorted. But I cashed out here like a bitch. Caught that move, and I was like, oh God, it's going back up. But no, it just went down only. I should have held that. This is... I don't have any interest in buying this. There's nothing on this chart that looks bullish. Would it shock me if this thing came back at some point in the future? Absolutely not. I've seen way stupider shit happen. But like, this is ugly. How much are we down now? We are down 95%. All right, so like we haven't even gotten to Solana levels, right? That would put us like sub 50 cents. So, yeah, Marty, I know you're joking. I know you're joking. Yeah, Nick, that guy, pour one out for that guy. I didn't want to tell the story on Twitter because I didn't want to like dunk on the guy. He was like, maybe he's one of the 3 people who follow me. But then one of my buddies who has 20,000 followers immediately just screenshotted the convo and posted it. So I was like, well, he knows now. Chris, just buy more punks. I agree. We like the punks over here. Been holding up relatively well, all things considered. Oh my God, we were getting annihilated here, boys. Getting annihilated. That is not the. I don't know if you guys are professional line drawers, but this is not a good pattern. This is not a pattern you want to see on your charts. No, it is not. Well, the good news is I can pay 2 weeks of my mortgage with my ETH short now, so not in too much poverty. All right, how long have we been doing this? I've been just losing track of time doing this with you guys. Just having so much fun, All right, we're getting close to an hour, so we'll wrap it up pretty soon. If you guys have anything else you want to chat about real quick, be happy to give it a roll. Isn't that the BART? Yeah, this is a BART. Dude, this is pretty BART-like. I think you got to call this a BART for sure. You got here's your neckline, there's your hair, and then boom, there's the rest of it. Love that. I think we can there we go. Boom. Calcium, thoughts on the low volume of ETH futures ETFs? I mean, I was never thinking the ETH futures ETF was going to be anything other than a sell the news events, to be quite frankly. I'm kind of kicking myself because I was up this morning and I was just distracted and I didn't pull up the chart until we had already kind of rugged. And then even after we rugged, I was like, fuck it, this thing is rugging more, and I shorted at support anyway. But yeah, this is gross. The volume on the ETH futures ETF, from what I saw, was like insanely bad, like bad to the point where people are questioning the entire Bitcoin ETF spot thesis, I guess. But this is full BART. We've gone all the way up in BART, and we we broke this low here. So yeah, this chart is totally fucked. What about Pepe? Oh yes, Chris, I know you're not serious about Pepe, but I haven't checked on it in a while. How's Pepe doing? Good times on the Pepe. All right, we bottoming? We bottoming, boys? All right. I mean, I've seen stupider shit come back. Have to keep an eye on that. I did buy that stupid AI coin. What was it called? Astro Pepe X. Yes, nice negative 22% today. Bought near the bottom, fortunately, but I wonder if this thing goes to zero. I had to buy this because it's just like one of those narratives that was just like so obvious, and if you didn't buy it like a year from now, you're going to totally off yourself. First totally AI coin, boys. Look at that. There's a nice fat line. Maybe that'll... Oh, let me move it a little bit. There's a nice fat line. Yeah, I mean, actually, I might actually buy a little more here. I don't hate it. I don't hate it. Don't put your don't put your life savings in there. Astro Pepe X is a great name. I like it. It's got some good meme value. What's the Italy alfalfa? Ooh. I think one of my favorite parts of Italy was this random sandwich truck I found on the side of the road in Positano, where I got like basically an American style burger, but with like panini and like Italian ingredients. It was incredible. It was like $5. It was better than everything I ate in the entire country for the last week. So I enjoyed that greatly. Man, Positano is crowded. I was kind of bummed. Everything is so crowded. Airports absolutely slammed. Cost me like $2,000 for a one-way coach ticket back home, just one leg. 3-hour line in Naples at the airport. I mean, the economy is not slow, boys. Every hotel just way over $1,000 a night, unless you were staying in like an actual shack. So it was pretty gnarly out there. But I love Italy. Italy's super freaking awesome. Actually, I went to Lake Como for the first time, which is also pretty rich, but great time. I stayed at a little boutique place there called Villa Lario, and it is really sick. If you ever want to go there with the lady, highly recommend that place. Just like immaculate service, but like not stuffy and like uncomfortably rich. Incredible bar. Just had a hotel room right on the lake. It was great. Highly recommend. Have I bought my ticket to San Francisco yet? Oh yeah. So funny story about that. I thought I bought the ticket last week, and I just pulled up the confirmation emails today to try to figure out what time I had to leave to the airport. And apparently I have not bought the ticket yet, and it is now I think $800 for a round trip ticket to San Francisco. So yeah, I don't know. thinking about not going. Will you be mad? God, $800 to go to San Francisco is so stupid. I paid $40 for a flight the last time I flew there. $40, and now it's $800. I know. Just recession any day, guys. It's right around the corner. Everything's crashing. Yeah. Oh, one more thing before we wrap it up. I wanted to look at the stonks real quick. I feel like we never get a chance to look at the stonks. Stonks they look like they want lower, boys. This was our structure here on the weekly. We broke it, closed below the low, had a retest of this order block, lower again. I suspect that we probably come up in here this week. This is probably a good spot to hedge, and then I don't know. Whoop. I've got my eyes on this zone right here. Actually, this area looks pretty juicy to me, at least for a bounce trade. You got an imbalance. You've got 3 equal lows on the daily. So I'm going to be swing trading this basically, and kind of targeting this zone for a while because I think this is the draw right now. So I think with a short bias over the next few weeks. Is that enough to bottom us, or do we just get a bounce there? I don't know. This is like kind of a pretty huge level in here. We went up so fast, right? Like we never tested this zone. This is still unmitigated. This is still unmitigated. This area here has been sort of self-mitigated already. So I think probably here or here we ultimately bottom. Kind of a nasty move down from here still. What is that? That is 6% into there and maybe 8% there. I don't know. Yeah, seems pretty plausible to me. But like I've been saying, I think ultimately zooming out, we go higher. Like this is just such like a huge impulse move to me. Like it seems insane to me that we don't grab the highs, and I think on the podcast I outlined why I thought we're probably going much higher. Probably up into I want to go into the 20Ks, baby. Coincide with our crypto bull run. So yeah, TLDR boys, I think it's going to be a painful Q4. Hope I'm wrong. Already have some bags packed in case I'm wrong. But I'm planning for pain. I am selling calls on my Coinbase stock currently. I am selling calls on MicroStrategy. I like to do this as like sort of like a hedge against what I have. So I have income. If the price doesn't go up, as it probably won't, and then I don't get uber wrecked, and if I get exercised on those calls, well, the rest of my portfolio is probably doing pretty well. But I don't think we're coming back up here anytime in the super near future. It is interesting to look at the MicroStrategy chart and see how much cleaner this is actually than Bitcoin. I mean, we've got basically like low, higher high, higher low, higher high, higher low, higher high, higher low. Like this is just a straight clean uptrend, versus Bitcoin has been a little bit dicier, especially here. Like as of late, there's been like a huge divergence between Bitcoin and MicroStrategy, between basically everything in crypto and everything TradFi crypto. That's like a really interesting trend I've been observing. We saw the same thing in Coinbase. We making higher highs in Coinbase at a point where we were actually making lower lows in Bitcoin and ETH, and even the miners for a time were doing the same. But a Riot had a little bit of a structure break last week. So I think I also told you guys why bullish on Q4, Marty. So if you review the stream from last episode, which I think was like a really great stream actually, because I talked about something that a lot of people don't really hear or talk about, and I think like works pretty well for the high time frame analysis. I talked about quarterly theory and my thoughts on how we had just completed a cycle over the last year while we were just starting a new cycle. We had just finished a quarter of accumulation, and then we were going to see a manipulation period in Q4, meaning that we're likely, I thought, to see like a sharp move down because I'm generally bullish, followed by a move back up. That's kind of how we've catapulted ourselves into the last few runs. So that's why. Well, I'm not really bullish Q4. I'm kind of bullish. I think Q4 is going to be bloody. Now, it could be a Q4 where we get like absolutely nuked, right? You do one of these, but then it kind of comes back up, and you're like, oh, okay, like that's happened before. That almost happened, right? Last quarter we had this super nuke, and then we're back in the black by just early January. So we could do a similar thing there, right? Where we just go whoop, and then back up. But I'm not necessarily bullish Q4. Like I think blood in Q4, and then I think everything lines up pretty good for a good move coming into Q1 next year. It seems things are eerily stable in the world. Are they eerily stable? I don't know. Max, common refrain I hear is Saylor owns 1% of BTC, but I mean MSTR owns it, and he doesn't own 100% of the company, so I think it's a bit of a fallacy. I don't know. I get what you're saying, but I think this is just a generalized problem with Bitcoin. This is like the criticism I've made of Bitcoin all the time, which is that because Bitcoin doesn't have DEXs, right? Because we're not doing smart contracts on there, because you can't really like execute trades on Bitcoin. It basically means that you have to rely on some sort of institutional third party to trade it, right? And then the larger it becomes as an asset class, like the larger that third party institution has to have, it has to be, and it just sort of lends itself towards institutional capture, because it can't really exist on its own unless you want to live in a world where we're like meeting in parking lots, like localbitcoins.com and doing like Bitcoin trades. It doesn't make any sense to me. So yeah, I think Bitcoin's going to keep being captured institutionally, whether that's by MicroStrategy, whether that's by BlackRock, or that's by anybody else. But that's going to be a trend we keep seeing for sure. All right, cool. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed that. Why do you think that the captured? Oh, well, all right. I'll comment on that real quick before I end. I think that what the capture does to value is kind of complicated. I think it boosts the value dramatically in the short run, but probably at the cost of it being able to do what it truly wants to do in the long run. It's kind of hard for it to become like a check on institutional power if like all of the institutions control it, but in the short run, your bags are going to pump very, very, very hard if all the institutions kind of capture it, and then they want to pump it in their own self-interest to kind of boost their fees or do whatever. So that's kind of how I feel about it. Anyway, yeah, like I was saying, hope you guys enjoyed the stream. Trying to get a little better at this. Not really a streamer, so not super organized. Maybe ramble a little too much. So sorry about that if that's the case. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed the stream. I'm having fun doing this. I want to keep doing it. Maybe I'll put out some more organized kind of one-off videos too. But I do like hanging out with you guys. Danny, I know you asked a trading question. I'm probably just gonna get you in the Discord on that one, because I gotta run here. But yeah, if you're not following me already, follow me on Twitter at Steven Cesaro. Buy me on Friendtech. I am going to start posting there a little bit more. I still think I'm very cheap. I know. I'm going to show my own bags there. Definitely not financial advice. Please do not. Please do not buy me just thinking you're going to do like a 20x on there. But I would buy me. I have bought me because I think I'm cheap. I think I'm worth a lot more than $200 or whatever. It's very offensive to me. So yeah, definitely going to post more on there. I like Friendtech. I'm pretty bullish on it, in spite of some of the haters that we have. I think it's probably going to be a pretty sweet airdrop. So I'm trying to farm that for sure. If you guys buy me and I'm paying attention, I will buy you back and 3-3 you and boost your rating. And yeah, if you're not already following us in the Alfalfa Pod Discord, that's where I'm hanging out most of the time. Go to alfalfapod.com, get the link for the Discord there. Join the Magic Lines thread. That's where we do a lot of our charting, hang out, draw triangles and stuff. Have a real good time. Yeah, so I'm just going to kind of keep doing these ad hoc, I guess. I don't know what schedule works best for me. Sometimes I'm trading and can't do them. Sometimes I'm doing different stuff, different days. So, yeah, just keep following me on Twitter. Follow me in the Discord. I'll keep letting you know when I'm doing them. But this is probably a good time, I think, 2:30 Pacific. I'm happy I get to talk with some of you Euros because I know the Alfalfa Pod is a little late for you guys and you can't hang out. So good to have you here. Cool, Max. Glad you enjoyed it. Hope everybody else enjoyed it as well. If you have any requests for next time, feel free to hit me up on Twitter or the Discord, and I will get your chart requests in there. But until the meantime, yeah, I would just hunker down, prepare for some nastiness. All of that could go away if they decide to just approve the ETF tomorrow. So that is the big risk you guys got to consider. Is that although the charts do look like they want to go down. If Gary just randomly in the middle of October decides to approve a spot Bitcoin ETF, we're gonna send very hard, and you're not gonna have a chance to get in until 10-15% higher. So just weigh that in your decisions maybe. But cool, yeah. I will see you guys next time. Thanks for